Tonight the world hums like a machine of neon and breath and memory, and you, yes, you, are the unslept question at its heart. Listen, there is a way of moving that turns struggle into music. Before this ends, a single sentence will tilt the axis of your life, simple as a door handle in the dark. Hold your breath. Keep listening. The last line is the key you've been carrying without knowing it. You weren't born to be an extra in your own story, walking past your reflection like a stranger absorbed by bus timetables and weather. You were born as weather, uncontainable, unrepeatable sky. And yet, somewhere between the syllabus and the swipe, you traded thunder for notifications. You learned to perform certainty in rooms where everyone was secretly asking the same question. Is this it? Is this the summit? No. This is the waiting room, decorated to look like destiny. The names on the doors change, the carpet gets replaced, the music rotates on a curated playlist, but the eyes inside those rooms flicker with the same quiet hunger. You know this. You've always known it. It's why night feels honest and morning sometimes feels like a negotiation. Consider how your day begins. A small rectangle lights up, and you bow to it like a saint before an altar. The altar answers with a flood, numbers, faces, weather maps, outrage in high definition. You think you're choosing. Often you are chosen. You think you're steering. More often you're being steered. Yet even in the undertow of deadlines and drip-fed dopamine, something older in you remains unmoved, watching, patient as a mountain keeping a promise to the horizon. That watcher in you isn't impressed by metrics. It doesn't applaud your highlight reel. It knows that all your roles are masks, and underneath the masks is a face made of ocean. When the child first learned the word tree, the living thing was demoted to a concept, filed in the cabinet of mind. Later, the child learned success, status, brand, and the living self was filed the same way. But concepts are thumbnails. The full image is always wilder. Somewhere along the line, you began to mistake the menu for the meal, the map for the mountain, the follower count for fellowship. You climbed a staircase of symbols and discovered they had no scent. You ate an idea of bread and stayed strangely hungry. Here is the scandal of awakening. Nothing is wrong with you. Much is unfinished. Yes, to be human is to draft your own sequel daily, but nothing is wrong. The culture sells correction like cologne. Spray it on, fix yourself, polish the mask. Yet the mask fogs with every living breath because the breathing you is the point. The goal is not to replace yourself with a shinier version. The goal is to take off the costume and step into weather again. Try this now, without moving. Feel the weight of your body wherever you're sitting or standing. Each point of contact is a signature from gravity saying, I'm here, you're here, we are together. Listen to the room, the distant hum, the soft whisper of air, the small percussion of everyday life. Notice thought arriving like a bird and leaving without a forwarding address. Watch a worry appear. Don't employ it, don't fire it. Let it finish its little dance and go. You are the sky, not the storm. Yet storms are welcome in you. Rain is part of your generosity.
Modern life is an orchestra that forgot it was music. Instruments are mic'd, schedules are metronomic, everyone is on time and out of tune. We schedule courage for later. We place joy on layaway. We dress our longing in sarcasm and call it realism. But when you stop pretending, the air changes. The conversation you keep having with yourself silently turns into a doorway. The door has no lock. It just asks you to stop pushing where it says pull. It asks you to admit that what you call procrastination is sometimes a refusal to betray your own rhythm. You are not a project. You are a pulse. You are not a brand. You are a branch, bending with the wind and rooted in something older than language. When you speak from that root, the world recognizes you as a sibling it lost track of in a crowded station. Strangers soften. Work stops feeling like a tax on your soul and becomes an expression, a way of shaping time into usefulness, kindness, even beauty. Productivity becomes a byproduct of presence. You still send emails. They simply have a heartbeat now. But let's not lie. Awakening is awkward. When a snake sheds its skin, there is a moment when it does not yet fit itself. When you stop performing, some people will miss the character and forget the actor. They may call you distant when you finally become present. Let them. You are not leaving them. You are leaving the negotiation that kept you both small. Your silence will be misread as frost by those addicted to applause. Meanwhile, your presence will be recognized as heat by those ready to thaw. There is a courage older than noise. It doesn't shout, it doesn't post, it doesn't bring a trumpet section to announce its arrival. It sits inside ordinary moments like candlelight, refusing to be blown out by drafts of doubt. You carry that candle. You have always carried it. You hid it under busyness, like a child hiding a treasure under the bed, convinced someone might steal it. No one can. How do you steal a sunrise from the sky that contains it? Here's a rough secret. The universe plays to a rhythm of give and receive. Breath comes in, breath goes out. Waves approach, waves return. Day displays, night restores. Somewhere you learn to inhale achievement and hold it, to keep receiving and receiving without exhale. That is why your chest sometimes feels like a full inbox. Exhale now. Let go of the narrative that your worth is a question for a committee. There is no committee. There is only life, measuring nothing, unfolding everything.
What do you actually want? Not the advertisement, not the second-hand desire borrowed from a peer, but the quiet wish that visits you when the room falls asleep. Perhaps it is not bigger but truer. Perhaps it is not later but now. You won't find it by interrogating yourself under fluorescent lights. You find it by allowing what is simple to be sufficient for 5 unedited minutes. Drink water like it's a sacrament. Look at the sky without naming its shade. Call a friend and tell the truth without the usual choreography. When you practice small honesty, large freedom starts showing up uninvited. I could tell you 1,000 techniques, apps and programs and breathing ladders up the spine, but at the core, the practice is as plain as rain. Notice, allow, participate, release. The ego will treat this simplicity like an insult, demanding a more Baroque ritual to feel important. Thank it for its service and continue. Your life does not need more gold filigree. It needs fresh air through an open window. Here is where it gets interesting. When you relax the fist of self-importance, creativity returns like blood to a sleeping hand. Ideas knock that used to avoid your door because you look too busy to be a decent host. Solutions appear wearing simple clothes. You begin to give yourself away in small, ordinary acts that feel suspiciously like love. The world responds with echoes. A chance meeting, an invitation, the right line in the right book at the right time. Serendipity wasn't hiding, you were. And now, while the city keeps scrolling, while satellites stitch light over the oceans, a question arrives, sudden and clean as a bell. What would your life look like if you stopped arguing with reality for one day? If you treated each event as a messenger rather than a mistake? What if your suffering is not evidence of failure, but evidence of growth? The ache of muscles building a new allegiance to truth. The moment you stop trying to deserve your own existence, the world that kept resisting you becomes strangely weightless, like a locked door that swings open because it was always a pull, never a push. You have met yourself in the mirror 1,000 times and believed you were meeting a problem to solve. But the mirror was begging for a different conversation. Not, how can I fix you, but what music are you trying to become? The answer rarely speaks in bullet points. It speaks in the warmth that rises in your chest when you act in alignment. It speaks when you say, I don't know, and your body loosens, relieved of its performing. It speaks when you choose the honest no, even when the dishonest yes is easier to explain. The world is full of strategies for improvement. Improvement has its place. Learn the skill, build the habit, keep your promises. But there is a level below all strategies where the game changes. It is the level where you realize you weren't meant to drive your life like a tank through enemy territory, but to sail it like a boat that trusts wind as much as hands. To live like this is not to become passive. It is to become responsive. A responsive life moves with the grain of reality, and that is why it wears you out less, even as it carries you further. Picture a morning that begins before your devices do. You step into a kitchen that smells like the word begin. You wash your face and feel the water as if it were first-time water, as if rivers had crossed continents to meet you in a porcelain bowl. You stand by a window and watch the city reboot, and you realize you are not starting the day, you are entering a day already singing. Birds were working the night shift. Clouds rehearsed their movements. Somewhere someone fell in love, and somewhere someone said goodbye. And these currents are now moving through you like weather through open hills. You do not need to make meaning today. You need to notice the meaning that is already spilling. You consider the work waiting for you. Not all of it is noble. Some of it is tedious. Debt you once created for a future self who would have more time. That future self is you, and you do not have more time. But you do have more truth. So you ask, how can I plant one seed of honesty inside this task? Maybe you write the email that feels difficult without packaging it in sugar or thorns. Maybe you ask for help before the moment of emergency. Maybe you push your chair back and do 10 slow breaths that you do not monetize with a post. The smallest act of unhidden presence, repeated, becomes the quiet engine of a life that doesn't leak. When you walk through the city, you notice how many roles are on parade. There is the striver, jaw set like a lock. There is the drifter, eyes turned to the ground as if to avoid stepping on their own shadow. There is the comedian trying to bargain with fear. There is the prophet disguised as the barista, asking you without words whether you can make room for a moment of unpurchased kindness. You remove your headphones just for one block. The symphony of now enters, the crosswalk's tiny metronome, the halting grammar of distant sirens, the laughter of two friends inventing a new planet in the middle of a sidewalk. You remember that your attention is the greatest currency you control. You spend it on what you want to grow. The algorithms do not care if you blossom. They care that you return. But life itself cares only that you participate. When you participate, the fear of being behind starts to loosen. Behind what? The seasons take turns without resenting each other. The moon changes her mind nightly and still pulls the oceans to their proper work. You too can change your mind without making it a crime scene. Sometimes you will be winter for a while. Rest is not failure. It is rehearsal for spring. You have known the pain of being misunderstood. You have also known the pain of understanding yourself and ignoring it. The second pain cuts deeper because it is self-betrayal dressed as compromise. So you begin to practice micro-bravery. You tell a truth that shakes in your throat. You decline a distraction with a smile instead of an apology. You fix one small broken ritual. The way you eat, the way you move, the way you talk to yourself after you make a mistake. You begin to treat errors like teachers instead of prosecutors. You stop rereading the indictment and start reading the lesson. In conversations, you notice your habit of rehearsing your answer while the other person is still speaking. You stop. You let their words finish the journey to the shoreline of you. The silence that follows feels like a pause to them, but to you it feels like a clearing where meaning can land. Presence is contagious. It invites the other to set their armor down. Suddenly the talk you were dreading becomes the moment you were meant to have. There is a myth that leaving the crowd means losing warmth. The opposite is often true. When you withdraw from the theater of performance, you become available for a deeper kind of closeness, the kind that doesn't demand an identity badge at the door. You will find these humans by the light they do not try to own. They do not turn you into a mirror for their certainty. They are more curious about your silence than your resume. Around them, your heartbeat remembers a tempo you trusted as a kid. Some days clarity is a sky blue blade. Other days it is fog, and you must proceed by touch. Proceed anyway. Touch the next true step. For every true step you take, a false hallway goes dim. Your life simplifies the way a forest clarifies after a storm. Branches not meant to last fall away. Streams reroute toward less resistance. The path does not get easier, but it does get more honest. And honesty is lighter to carry. This is not a religion of renunciation. It is an invitation to play. Play is what happens when you stop trying to win and start trying to belong to the moment. When you play, fear becomes less of a bouncer and more of a stagehand. It still exists, it just doesn't get the microphone. Your projects begin to feel like games of hide and seek with wonder. Your relationships start to feel like dances where both of you occasionally step on each other's toes and then laugh because the music is bigger than your feet. Your time is not a container to fill, it is a tide to surf. Surfing is not denial of gravity, it is collaboration with it. Collaboration with life is the secret art you were never graded for. It looks like knowing when to lean, when to lie down, when to leap, when to let the wave pass and wait for another. It looks like trusting that there will be another. Always there is another, different, not lesser, bearing its own invitation, dressed as a curve of water. What if the very thing you're chasing is what you become the instant you stop running? The mistake was never your hunger. The mistake was only the direction. You were taught to hunt for yourself someplace else, as if the self were a prize hidden behind a gated community of achievements. But the self is not a trophy. It is a tide pool. Kneel, look closely. Life is already gesturing from the smallness, light sliding across a mug, a sentence untying a knot in your chest, the way a stranger's eyes soften when you let them speak to the end of their thought. You may ask, how do I begin? Begin by beginning. Begin where your feet are. Put both palms on the table of this moment and press until you feel the grain. Ask, what is the kindest true thing I can do in the next 10 minutes? Do that, then ask again. Kindness without truth becomes enabling. Truth without kindness becomes a weapon. Together they become a compass that does not get lost in the magnet field of other people's urgency. There will be grief. Opening your eyes does not remove loss, it resolves it. The sadness you have stored like unsent letters will start to arrive. Read them.
Some are written by younger versions of you who did not get the protection they deserved. Hold them. Forgive the keepers of that era if you can. Forgiveness is not exoneration. It is liberation of your next breath. You're not freeing them. You're freeing your mouth to sing. There will be anger. Let it come as heat without smoke. Aim it like sunlight through a magnifying glass onto the root of things. You'll find that anger often points to a boundary you neglected. Reinstate it with generosity. No is a complete sentence, and it need not be theatrical. If you whisper it with conviction, life hears you. There will be fear. Let fear sit in the back seat and hold the map. It just doesn't get to drive. Fear often indicates importance. You fear what matters, but what matters is precisely what must be loved into motion. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is a decision that your heart's homecoming is worth more than your heart's hiding. Look at the mirror again. See how your face has been learning this whole time. Every wrinkle, every line, every scar is an archaeology of answered challenges. You are not late. You are right on time for the moment you are in. Right on time does not mean comfortable. It means appropriate. It means that your capacities and the world's opportunities are in conversation, even when that conversation sounds like thunder. When you work, work like a prayer. Let your task be a chapel. Sweep the floor like you're clearing the path for someone's best thought. Write the code like it might hold a door open for a stranger you'll never meet. Teach like the present tense is holy. Nurse like the pulse is poetry. Sell like you are placing the right thing in the right hands. If you cannot find the prayer in your work, practice until either the prayer appears or the work changes. When you love, love with curiosity. Curiosity keeps love from stiffening into certainty. Ask questions that have no performance bonus attached, and listen for what isn't said. The sigh before I'm fine. The history hidden in a preference. Learn to hear another's fear without feeding it. Learn to hold another's dream without kneading it into your shape. Love is not adoption. Love is an ecosystem where difference keeps biodiversity alive. When you rest, rest like the planet rests, cyclically, without apology. Lay your body down as if you are returning it to the earth's gentle custody for a while. Sleep because stars are working while you are not. Wake because dawn is a proposal you were born to consider. Rest is not an interruption to productivity. It is the foundation upon which useful action stands without wobbling. There is a voice in you that speaks in images, not arguments. It sends you pictures, a field, a city at dawn, a door with light bleeding around the edges. Do not argue with pictures. Notice them. Live toward them. You will find that life answers metaphors with events. Say yes to the field, and an invitation will arrive to be outside more. Say yes to dawn, and your mornings begin to steady themselves. Say yes to the door, and you will meet thresholds worth stepping through. When the past knocks, you don't have to invite it to dinner. You can talk to it on the porch and keep the conversation short. Thank you for what you taught me. I'm walking onward now. The present does not like sharing your chair with ghosts. Make room for the living. You're starting to sense it, aren't you? The quiet promise I whispered at the start. The key. If you listen with the whole of you, the ending will not feel like an ending at all, but like a remembering that was waiting at the root of every breath you've ever taken. Keep going. Stay with me. The road is about to widen. You don't become extraordinary by adding more. You become extraordinary by dissolving what keeps you from noticing you already are. The ocean has a trick. It does not apologize for its tide. It rises, it falls, and in that faithful rhythm, all of shoreline life learns its dance. You too contain an oceanic intelligence that does not ask permission to be periodic. There are times to build and times to bless, times to speak and times to listen so deeply that listening itself becomes your speech. When you obey that rhythm, your days acquire the authority of weather. You stop arguing with rain. You put out a cup. The self you defend is often just the fortress built around a simple fire. The fire does not need a fortress. It needs air.
What if you lowered the drawbridge and invited a few winds to pass through? Not every wind is hostile. Some are the kin of your forgotten beginnings, breezes carrying the smell of the first place you felt safe. These winds know how to rekindle. You feel your chest expand in a way you had forfeited. You remember that relief can arrive without explaining itself. Around you, culture promises immortality through legacy and longevity. But the sacredness of your life is not measured by how long it lasts or how loudly it echoes. It is measured by how wholly it is lived, moment by unrepeatable moment. The flower does not defer its blooming until it has secured an audience. It blooms because bloom is its name. You are not here to win against the world. You are here to win with it. To win with the world is to cooperate with what is true. Truth is not always comfortable, but it is reliable. Stand on it and you do not sink even when waves argue. You can let go of being right in exchange for being real. Realness is the currency that buys you rooms where you can breathe. Death will visit. It visits every home in time, removing dust from our certainties. Do not fear the visitor. Fear a life so padded you never feel your own edges. Mortality is not a threat, it is a sculptor. It carves you toward essence. Knowing you will die does not steal meaning, it concentrates it. Each hour becomes a wine you pour more carefully. Each conversation an altar you do not rush past. If you are carrying shame, set it down like a bag you forgot you were holding. It may be full of other people's voices. You do not need to sort their belongings today. Place it by the road. Put a small note on it, no longer mine. Walk on, lighter by the weight you used to call identity. Your back will thank you by standing taller without instruction. If you are carrying guilt for harm you've done, repair what you can. Repair is love translated into the grammar of responsibility. It is not a performance, it is a practice. Sometimes the repair is accepted, sometimes it is not. In both cases, the sincerity of your effort becomes a river that cleans the banks you walk beside. Keep walking, keep cleaning. Let the river teach you its patience. Leadership, in the life you are ready to live, is no longer a raised platform. It is a widened path. You lead not by being ahead, but by making it easier for others to join you at their speed. You tell the truth about how hard it is without making hardship your brand. You celebrate others without making celebration a strategy. Your presence becomes a place where people remember their own music. If you feel alone, look again. Solitude is not a penalty for awakening. It is a porch where the right companions recognize you. They arrive with eyes that do not flinch from the ordinary. They aren't impressed by your highlight reel because they love the unedited cut. Around them, your decisions stop trembling. You learn that community is not a crowd, it is a covenant. I will help you stay true, and you will help me stay kind. The body is a library where wisdom stores itself in muscle and breath. Treat it with the reverence you give to a sacred text. Movement does not have to look like an advertisement for discipline. It can look like joy returning to its neighborhood. Stretch and discover a door in your shoulder you forgot was there. Walk and listen to the sandal chorus of your ancestors. Nourish yourself in a way that feels like friendship, not truce. Money will continue to speak in a voice that tries to be the only authority in the room. Let it speak, then ask a larger question. What is enough for the aliveness I seek? Make your answer specific and honest. Enough is not a moving target if you stop moving it. Practice generosity that does not bankrupt wisdom. Give like the tree gives shade, not to be thanked, but because it cannot help it. Now, take this breath like you intended. Let it arrive all the way. Let it leave all the way. The door you have been rattling turns without effort when you stop shaking it. This precise moment of unguarded participation is the life you were promised while you were busy applying for it. Remember the guarantee from the beginning. Here it is, delivered, not as a trick, but as a homecoming. There has never been a separate you trying to reach life. There is only life reaching as you. The river you've chased was your own bloodstream. The sun you sought was your own awareness. The key you waited for lives in the hand that's been knocking. Open, open, and watch pressure turn into poise, the way a held breath becomes laughter when you finally let it go. Open, and let your days rearrange around sincerity, not spectacle. Open, and you will see that your purpose is not a puzzle behind a velvet rope. It is the way you treat this next minute like a universe that trusts you with its stars. If these words found the soft place in you, let us keep walking together. Become a member of this channel, not as a transaction, but as a shared vow to practice what we've uncovered, living like the sky we are, loving like the tide we are, making art of ordinary days. Members receive the deeper materials, the guided practices, the private sessions, the behind-the-scenes pages where we refine this courage and anchor it in action. Join and bring your candle. We'll build the kind of fire that doesn't burn out when the wind rises, because we are the wind and we are the flame, and we have always, always been the home.